What's up, guys? Welcome to Knockers on the Bottom. I'm your host, J Mill. J Mill, if you like. So let's get into it. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. But yeah, let's get into it. So the Cowboys tied the Packers 40-40. So first off, I don't know how to feel about that, right? Because there was probably about at least four different points throughout the game. Like I told y'all before the game, Cowboys can't win this shit. There's not a lot of paths to victory for the Cowboys. There's much more ways for the Packers to win than for the Cowboys to win. But then as the game started going, right, and the Cowboys started doing things, and I started getting excited, and I started like yelling, because that's how I am when I watch Cowboys games. I don't know about you guys, but like I'm always a fan first, right? I'm a fan of my squad. I'm a fan of my team. I got jerseys on my lap. I got, a Cowboys hat on my head. I'm wearing Cowboys colors. Like, that's my squad. So, as the Cowboys started to do things, I started getting pumped. I started, yelling. I started getting, a little rowdy, with the cheering and stuff. So, as the game kind of went on and the Cowboys did some things differently in this game, at least upon first impression, than they did in other games, right? They started off the game early doing things that we knew that they were going to do that were bad, right? Like allowing deep passes. There was a play early in the first quarter where Jordan Love went down deep down the left side. There were two receivers running wide open down that left side, and Jordan Love just threw it up. Somebody caught it. Malik Hooker thankfully made a tackle at that point, but it didn't matter. The Packers ended up scoring a touchdown in the game, so we just delayed the inevitable. They ended up scoring a touchdown, sorry, not in the game, in that drive. And craziness, Malik Hooker ended up going out of the game a little bit later. Let's see what happens with that injury, whether it's an ankle sprain or whether it's something a little bit deeper. We won't know, until he gets the x-rays and then we'll get the good or bad news. So I guess on the good side of things, right, Cowboys show some resiliency. They showed some fight. I kept, at different points in the game, one of my favorite Cowboys chants as a Cowboys fan is the do something, like show me why I'm supposed to be here. Show me why I'm supposed to cheer, And it was interesting because every time I would kind of get that going, the Cowboys would make a play defensively or make a play offensively. George Pickens showed up tremendously throughout this game. So star up to him. I think Javonte Williams also showed up tremendously throughout this game. He had a lot of tough runs. They weren't long runs. They weren't, breaking tackles for 20 and 30-yard gains, but they were dirty runs. They were nasty runs. Just kind of one of them things where it's like, hey, man, our team needs 4 yards on this first down run. So you got to go get it. And you got to get it out the mud, homie. This ain't going to be blocked up perfectly. You got to go get it out the mud. You got to dig it out. You know what I'm saying? You got to run over somebody and drag a few people. And he was consistent in that part of the game. And I feel like that bodes well long term. And I feel like that added an element of toughness to the Cowboys on offense. And not only offense, but just overall the whole team. That kind of helped them set the tone for the game, as in we're not going to go away, right? We're going to be here for, 60 minutes, and then beyond this game in particular, 70 minutes, and it went the full 70 minutes, like literally clock running out. So it was very interesting. The Cowboys were down early. They were getting their ass handed to them. And then they blocked the extra point and returned that for a 2-point conversion on their side. And that kind of woke the team up a little bit. From that point on, the Dallas Cowboys actually outscored the Green Bay Packers 38-26. So if they would have kept that energy from the beginning, we wouldn't have had to worry about overtime. We wouldn't have had to worry about stopping them and them kicking a field goal, tying the game. The Cowboys actually had their chances, and I can't wait to go back and look at the film and see all the different chances that the Cowboys had because, we're going to look at the result. We're going to look at what happened late in the game. Those are big plays. And the Cowboys did make a fair number of big plays on defense. You had James Houston. Shout out to Kevin Hengland when he was like, who needs Micah Parsons? We have James Houston. I tweeted at him. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he saw that. But, it's all good. It was nice to see a play by James Houston close to the end of the first half, coming through, getting a sack, strip, fumble, the trifecta. He got it all. He recovered it, and it allowed the Cowboys to go down and score a touchdown leading into halftime. But then when they came out of halftime, their drive kind of stalled a little bit. And, hey, you can't really fault the offense in a game where they scored 40 points. But there still were, there were some little things, right? Some little things where they could have, maybe put the game a little bit more in peril for the Green Bay Packers and forced them to have to go a little bit more aggressive and maybe use some of that same pressure that they were getting, throughout the game. And Izaraku, bro, star up, Donovan Izaraku. He made quite a few plays throughout this game. He had a couple of tackles for loss. He did have a penalty, which I thought was pure bull stuff. Hey. Yeah. I know not to say that. But it was pure bull stuff. And, I don't think that penalty was really a penalty at all. But he did get a penalty on that play. But he made up for it, man. He made a few tackles for loss. He was winning with his hands. Some of the things that we saw on tape when he was coming out of college to transition to the NFL, I was talking about, hey, man, a lot of these things are awesome in the pass game, right? Everybody wants to talk about his bendiness and the way he uses his hands and his shoulder dips and talking about that only in pass protection. But I was telling you guys, hey, these are some of the same things that'll help him in run defense. And today, they was helping him in run defense, man. He made several big plays in the backfield and several big tackles. The defense as a whole, I don't know, it's weird. It feels like they were a little bit better, but they still allowed 40 freaking points. So I don't know how much better they actually were, but it feels like they were better. I can't wait to dig into the metrics and some of the analytics after this game and some of the game film that'll be up tomorrow and Tuesday that I'll get to dig in a little deeper and be like, oh, okay, this is what we saw. This is what was going on. And, oh, they were better here than I thought, but they were way worse here than I thought. I don't know that stuff yet, but just overall after the game, it feels like they were a little bit better on offense and on defense than they have been the last few weeks. Especially with pressure. It felt like there was more pressure, and it wasn't Jadeveon creating the pressure because I at least personally saw at least 3 pressures from Donovan Ezraku. So Ezraku was creating pressure. James Houston, obviously, with his big play before the half that had the Cowboys get the lead, he was creating pressure. Osa Odighizuwa was a monster in the run game. Like, he was beasting it. It was almost like he was not blockable on certain plays in the run. He would just throw people out of the way and be like, yo, screw you. Here's your running back. He's in the dirt, bro. Try that again, but try it somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So, shout out to Osa Odighizuwa, earning his money, doing his thing. But, yeah, it sucks to end in a tie. I don't know if I would rather a loss than a tie, but I would rather not a tie. The Cowboys did a lot to win that game, and their defense was very worn down, but they were so worn down, and they still got to stop in overtime to force the field goal to make it a tie. So even though they were very exhausted, and even though, a lot of the game they had given up the booty, you know what I'm saying, they still had the chance to, make a stop and have the Packers tie it up, or at least give the field goal try. And then early in the game, you had the block. It was a return for 2. So you're hoping for something like that, on one of those plays. But alas, it didn't happen. But, man, 40-4. They pretty much shut Micah Parsons out. I think during the game, Micah Parsons got credit for tackling Dak Prescott from behind, and I think he got credit for a sack. But bro, that wasn't really a sack. Dak, took off. He did save a touchdown. I will say that it was a big play in the game. Because if Dak scores a touchdown, now you're talking about Cowboys maybe winning in regulation. 43-37. So that's a big difference. So he did make a game changing play, but what I was talking about before the game, how the Cowboys about to get murdered and murked, and they have Mark, you know what I'm saying, and people about to freaking skate down Broadway on their forehead and stuff. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. The Cowboys came to play. They showed a little toughness. They showed a lot of fight, and that makes me a little bit proud of what they did. But it's still just, man, a tie. A tie? They call it kissing your sister. And while I have no experience in that, it's interesting actually the term of reference for a tie. I feel like a tie is like you work hard for a 17-hour shift. You giving it, you giving it, you giving it. And then at the end of that 17-hour shift, they're like, oh, even though you worked a double, you pretty much accomplished what, one of our other employees usually accomplishes in a regular 8-hour shift. You just worked double hard to do the same thing. That's how I feel like a tie is. You know what I'm saying? It's a letdown. It's like, I didn't do anything special. We worked hard, we fought, but even our fight, you know what I'm saying? We wasn't throwing haymakers. We was throwing hay. That's it. Not haymakers. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't putting them up on the ground. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't knocking them off out. We were like, we are throwing pillows. This is a pillow fight. And last one with the pillow gets a tie. And so it sucks. It sucks, man. Like, I would like to see an outcome where there was a definitive winner or loser. And I still feel like a little bit of a loser based on this outcome. But hey, the Cowboys weren't blown out. The Cowboys played good offense. And they actually, I don't know if this is going to be true. Like I said, I had to wait to see. But it felt like they played okay on defense. Maybe because there wasn't as many explosive plays. The Green Bay Packers did go on the field. So they played a little bend and break. As in, they were bending. They were keeping things in front of them. They weren't letting the Green Bay Packers get, routine explosive plays. But on the same token, when they got in the red zone and it was time to like, all right, this is the don't break part, they broke. So, there's still going to be some chalkboard adjustments. There's still going to be some interactive whiteboard adjustments. There's still going to be some people called out, in the meeting room saying, hey, bro, this is where you effed up at, and this is where we need to get better. But does that make me feel like, if the Cowboys are playing at the best of their ability, man, they're going to beat a few teams this season. I just don't know if it's enough to get into the playoffs, honestly. I don't know if it's enough to win more than 9 games. For real. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hit me up on Twitter at jmillerIYL. Hit me up at knockersdownthebottom@outlook.com. Hit me up at knockersdownthebottom@gmail.com. Leave comments, leave questions below. Anything that you want me to answer, or just stuff that you want to say. So leave below. But love you guys. Like I said, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, I'm your host, J Mill. J Miller, if you like. This has been Knockers on the Bottom. Peace.